Hi there, it's Kevin with Gone Rogue Games, out with the dogs. And I got my first client for our outdoors business. He's paying me $800 right now to take him on this trip up the canyon. Just kidding. We got Talmadge back. I don't know if any of you remember him from the good old Gone Roger videos. If you've ever checked out some Gone Rogers, I got them kind of tagged on my YouTube channel. But they are the good old days when we used to have fun just around the store and record little tidbits that went on. So we got Talmadge back. We're gonna start getting back to doing those Gone Rogers, and hopefully you'll see a lot more content being produced here at Gone Rogue Games. So I don't know what to really talk about today other than address my week and let everyone know we're still going strong here at Gone Rogue Games. We got a lot of things planned. So one thing first, let's talk about the state of standard. So a lot of you might know that I come from Magic the Gathering, and that's the kind of started the store. And it really was from playing 1v1 competitive Magic that my whole goal with the channel that was called now Defunct Channel, that I probably should revive or let go or make a decision there, called the Rogue Deck Builder. The whole premise of the Rogue Deck Builder was to try to be as competitive as possible and create some unique brews that could actually compete with the tier decks. So a little bit of backstory with that is I actually started during Ravnica. So Return to Ravnica is when I got into playing standard Magic the Gathering. I'll go through the story. I know I've told it a billion times for those who've been here at this channel for years, but my story with how I got into the Rogue Deck Builder and creating unique Magic the Gathering decks was I actually used to only be a limited player. So I used to play super competitively with draft and sealed, and I had there used to be a thing called a DCI rating. So now they don't have a DCI rating, it doesn't matter. But if you had a high enough DCI rating, you could get invited to like the Pro Tour, or you could, the better thing with that was you could get like buys at like Grand Prix and things like that. So DCI, and it was just one of those things where it's like, you know, it was like a chess rating, a DCI rating. It was based on ELO, similar to chess. And so you could actually go and look up your name, and you could look up everyone else in your region, and you could kind of see how well you're doing versus the field. So I remember I was pretty proud of my ELO rating for limited. I'd almost exclusively play Friday Night Magics at Haster's Games and Comics in Salt Lake City, and I ended up getting like top 10 in the state of Utah for my limited rating. Because what they used to do back in the day is they used to separate the limited rating from the constructed rating. And then I remember when they made Planeswalker points a thing and got rid of the DCI rating, what was happening, I think that was actually a good idea to get rid of the DCI rating, because what was happening is people were creating fake accounts because they didn't want to ruin their DCI rating. I remember going to a pre-release and going 7-2 and losing a ton of DCI rating because of, you know, just the strength of the field at like a pre-release is, you know, got a lot of beginners, you got a lot of people that have low DCI rating, and you're just going to drop some games due to you know, variance, and especially sealed, where, you know, some of your opponents could just have absolute bombs that you can't deal with. So anyway, so there was a good reason for getting rid of the DCI because it stopped a lot of the people just not competing. Like a lot of people wouldn't even go or attend pre-releases that had a high DCI rating because they didn't want to ruin it. And they came up with a thing called Planeswalker points, which were the opposite of an ELO rating. It was just whoever could spam the most wins. You just got 3 points for a win, and that was that. And they also combined, as I have to jump over a ditch here, the limited and constructed ratings. So no longer could I really be just an exclusive limited only player. I had to branch off into playing constructed. So I started playing constructed during, I want to say all the way to Innistrad is when I started playing constructed, Innistrad and Return to Ravnica days. And I was always so frustrated with just the meta and how no one was like even trying to think outside the box. And you'd have 3 or 4 decks that were just define the meta, and you'd go at FNM, even at a local FNM, and everyone would be playing the same 3 to 4 decks. And so I kind of came up with the Rogue Deck, but I have a little story about that, of how the name was actually, wasn't even me that came up with the term Rogue Deck Builder. It was kind of an insult that was thrown at me about a deck I was playing at a Grand Prix in Salt Lake City. So, you know, it all started with the Rogue Deck Builders, why, you know, we are here today doing YouTube videos on Gone Rogue Games. So let's go ahead and cross this river here, and we'll get back to talking. See if we don't die here. Hoppity hop. All right. Oh, I was gonna see if Talmadge dies. Come on, Buttons. And Chloe, of course, is in the river doing her thing and grabbing rocks. So, anyway, that's kind of the backstory of. I remember I came home one day and decided I was gonna start a YouTube video, and I played a deck called Epic Experiment. No one's actually playing around with the card from, I believe, Return to Ravnica called Epic Experiment, and I actually created a cool little brew that went quote unquote viral. It was viral for a tiny channel, because I remember it got like 10,000 views or something, or 1,000 views. I don't remember the time period, but it was a lot for like a brand new channel. And my YouTube content career kind of took off because of that deck. So let's fast forward a few years, a lot more than a few years, and I kind of like got sick of Magic the Gathering and trying to play the more 1v1. Like, I think it happened a couple years back when we went through what I call the commandification of Magic, where even at our store, no one wanted to do anything but play Commander. And so it was so hard. We didn't fire F&M for years here at the store. We held Commander nights. On like every night was Commander night. Commander night, Monday through Saturday, Commander night. And so I became pretty frustrated because not only I still prefer limited, but not only could I not play limited anymore, but now I couldn't even get people to play constructed. And I'm just not interested in the Commander format. I'm not interested whatsoever in sitting down with pickup games with Commander and playing. So kind of got frustrated there with keeping up with the Rogue deck builder. And now here we are with the channel kind of dead. But I guess this is where I'm going with this kind of this backstory of talking about where we're at now, is we fired Standard now for five weeks in a row. We've had enough people to play Standard. And it's actually quite fun to be playing Standard now at the store, where people, I kind of feel bad because I've been tiering it up. I've just been each week playing a different tier deck because I want to get kind of the meta at least established here at my store. And as soon as that's established, though, I'm going to start building some decks. And so hopefully with this guy here, Talmadge, he's a big constructed player too, we will actually be able to revive that channel and start pumping out some content for the Rogue deck builder. So be looking forward to that. Tonight I'm going to try to get a video up on the Rogue deck builder for the top 10 cards that I want to brew from Final Fantasy. And we're going to actually make those decks and play them on MTG Arena. I don't think I'll go back to MTG Online. I will go back to Arena and we'll play those Final Fantasy decks and build some decks around them. And so hopefully you'll see a lot more content going forward. Because like I said, I've added this guy to the brand. You're going to see a lot more of Talmadge, hopefully, if not more of the behind the scenes. And we're going to start pumping out some content. So that's in the works, and as well as the Rogue Market. I think I'll have a lot more free time. Like, we got a lot of work done today, organized the entire store, got all the orders caught up. I always have to pick up pretty rocks. Sorry, distracted by rocks. It's kind of my thing. And so we're in good shape now to start, pumping out the content. So with that said, I'm gonna actually go into a little bit of my week and kind of what's been frustrating me and some changes going forward. Like I said, we have Talmadge brought on board, so we're looking to scale, looking to grow the business. And of course, that will help me out with like being able to scale as far as orders are concerned. It's gonna be easy for me to get orders out, which means I think I can take on a lot more of that responsibility of kind of scaling the business. However, there have been some frustrations with how I've been scaling right now. So you saw my last video, I was incredibly frustrated with Final Fantasy being cut by 2 distributors. And it's just been the runaround with these like, I cannot even still get a straight answer with like the whys, the hows of Final Fantasy. And I am still completely frustrated with Pokemon, Final Fantasy, One Piece. I think the distributors have brought on way too many accounts. That is my suspicion. I think there have been so many people that have just popped up in the last year that have wanted to sell TCGs, either out of their basement or, started like these small operations that is overstretched distributors to the point that they're trying to, keep these new accounts happy, as well as still provide enough supply for what I would call the mid-sized stores like mine. And I think those are the ones that have really been crushed. I think the big stores have continued to get their big allocations because they're top priority, but to make room for all these new stores that have come in, or these other parties that have somehow been able to. I know that there are particular distributors who don't care. They don't care if you're a brick and mortar. They'll just sign you up, and you can get distribution price if you just have a business license and a reseller permit. And I've heard rumors of some of these whatnot streamers doing over 6 figures with distributors a month in sealed product that they just open and actually rip and ship on places like Whatnot. And I think that's the main problem with like these stores. A bunch of stores have reached out to me to try to compare numbers for Destined Rivals for example, and many stores are just in the same boat that I am. We're not even getting a case from certain distributors. It's like single boxes. Or one of my last shipments I got in from one of the distributors was 2 of the, what do they call the tins that came out? The slashing tins that just came out, 2. And they weren't even, what was so hilarious about the 2 that I received is it wasn't even one of each of them. I think there's Cryodon and I can't remember what the other one is. Miraidon and Cryodon. I can't remember if those are the ones, the tins. But anyway, we got 2 just tins, or 2 of the same one. We didn't get 2 different ones of the tins. So, yeah, super frustrating that that's like our allocation for a product that just came out. And like these things too, it's not like I'm putting in low numbers or I'm not doing business with these distributors. I'm doing, lots of money with every one of these distributors. And those are kind of the sad reality of allocations lately, is they've just been basically non-existent for things like Pokemon. So I've talked to a bunch of stores, and apparently stores have also complained directly to Pokemon, and Pokemon's shocked. Pokemon doesn't understand why accounts that are being allocated Pokemon allocations directly from Pokemon, because there's a thing called the Pokemon, kind of the Pokemon Play Network, and they allocate a certain amount of product per store. Let's see if we can record a fail here. Geez, I'm just gonna go this way. I'm gonna just do the easy way. We're not even gonna try to do what Talmadge just did there. But anyway, these stores have been reaching out to Pokemon, and Pokemon also is frustrated with why are distributors not allocating stores any sort of decent amount of product that are actually running events and signed up for this Pokemon Play Network, and the product is not getting to them. And like I said, I think I have my suspicions that these are the stores that are getting, like me, are getting cut, these mid-sized stores, in favor of keeping the big stores, getting their allocations, taking on these new accounts, and my suspicion is allocating a crap ton of product to these Whatnot streamers, and because they're the ones that are just pushing through their product. So apparently, what I've heard down the rumor mill is that Pokemon is investigating distributors, and there is going to be some changes coming up to where those allocations are going to come back in line with like which stores are getting what. So I think they are going to start holding more accountability at the distribution level. And in my opinion too, I think they need to do some due diligence and figure out what's a store, what's actually a legit brick and mortar store, and what is one that's masquerading as one. So hopefully we will start getting more allocated stuff, because like I said, I've not even got enough stuff for my own store to, it doesn't even like 2 tins, that's gonna be gone by the first customer that comes in. And it's just gonna be, there's just not enough to go around for everyone. So that's hopefully one of the changes. Magic, of course, needs to do the same. I am still under the, we can just go this way. I think we've come to the how far we're gonna go. There's a bunch of kids coming up here, and my dogs are gonna, come on, buttons. But anyway, so going back, sorry if this is like convoluted, rambly video, at least you get some content today. Going back to the Final Fantasy of why I've been so frustrated with being cut by distributors, is hopefully those changes will occur too, with Wizards of the Coast kind of clamping down and figuring out, the one thing is, like, I did get all my WPN allocations from a main distributor. I had no problems with my main distributor. They came through perfectly. I got great numbers from them. Something like 60 to 70 collector boosters, enough commander collectors. Like, I got a bunch of messages from like stores. I'm like, why were numbers so low? I'm like, my numbers weren't so low from my main distributor. Like, they did come through. My numbers were so low from all the alt distributors that I did still do a ton of business with. Like I said, it's tens of thousands of dollars per week that I do with these alternate distributors. It's not like we're chump change. And it doesn't reflect in the amount allocated for, these recent sets like Destined Rivals and like One Piece and all of these, I guess we're going this way, all these other games that are super, super limited. Those are the things that, you know, are not reflective of like what I'm assuming my spend rate is compared to like other stores' spend rate, and being allocated the exact same amount that they are. So again, it's quite frustrating with how Final Fantasy went down. And that kind of brings me to the last kind of the sour case here of, you know, why I've kind of been absent for the past few days is I've literally been on the phone with distributors. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've been on the phone trying to figure things out with distributors, trying to be like, okay, how going forward can we guarantee numbers? How going forward can we make sure that I don't get cut every single box for Final Fantasy? What can I do to build up my numbers? And hopefully I've had some productive conversations with distributors. So A, that's been happening, but B, I've also kind of had a little bit of turmoil happen on my end for my subscription service base that I have created, the whole Patreon, the whole Rogue Market thing, to where a lot of people were very upset with my allocations. I got a lot of blame directed my way that I was maybe like holding back product, and let me just reiterate how this kind of works. I do not sell on TCG Player whatsoever. We have no presence on eBay. We have no presence on TCG Player because I made that decision early on when I created the Patreon that everything would go to people that believed in me. So everyone that subscribed in me, I would get them back when, you know, things were hot. And we do, of course, need stuff for the store. We are a brick and mortar. We do sell things. We actually have a pretty big Magic and Pokemon scene here. Like we have Commander Nights, every Commander Night are packed, and now our Standard Nights are packed. Our pre-releases have been doing well. I haven't even had kits left over recently for pre-releases because we're actually churning through them. And so we do need product, of course, for the store, but everything else is always going to be allocated out. And so I did my best to allocate. I have about 100 to 200 active patrons that do order on each set. And of course, 60 collector booster boxes cannot be spread over 100 people ordering. And so I had a lot of people that were upset and felt like, you know, I didn't allocate properly. And I was the last, you know, 4 days I've been kind of dealing with messages and trying to figure out, you know, how I can do better, how I can communicate better about the reality of the situation, and, you know, try to put out fires where I can. But unfortunately, it did lead to some really, really not ideal conversations, I would say, back and forth with some people. And so, I don't know, that's what I kind of want to reach out there and be like, I know that most people that come from YouTube, like watch my videos and come to YouTube to my Patreon and want to support, typically those interactions are quite good. But apparently, my subscription service was shared on the dreaded Reddit and some other places. And when that usually happens, it does get a lot of people that are just trying to use the service, not really be a part of the service, but use it. So, you know, Final Fantasy, I think people are incredibly upset because they're relying on turning their little Patreon subscription into just like a, you know, a money-making machine at that point. And, you know, I've had to make some posts and really redefine my service to hopefully weed this out in the future. That this is like hopefully a service going forward to where, you know, we're building it together. And there will be some hiccups and some moments where, you know, scalability doesn't match the amount of patrons I have. And I want to reiterate, I'm doing my best I can to increase these numbers and scale. Like right now is a really rough time. Like I said, there's everyone and their dog is back to selling TCGs. We went through this, like, this is what I can't stand about this industry. And that's why I want to kind of branch off to this, doing more of this outdoor stuff. It is so frustrating when this market's hot, is a billion stores pop up and you see them on every corner, not just brick and mortars, but then you see all these people that they're competing on the online space and they're just eating each other. Like it's not sustainable when this happens. And what ends up happening is it ends up having this overprinting era. And then of course there isn't going to be enough buyers to support all of the stores out there, and all of these stores just over leverage themselves and buy too much product. And then we have a glut of product that needs to be actually consumed, not invested or not up for sale. And then we have the problem of prices crashing. And so we're definitely going to go into one of those moments where I think that we might be heading back in with Destined Rivals now having massive demand, and now Final Fantasy having massive demand. Unfortunately, I foresee we're going back into that market where those two IPs, Pokemon and Magic, especially these two sets, are going to gobble up all of the money and cause both Magic the Gathering to print, because you got to believe there are much more play boosters and commander decks and probably bundles and probably starter kits being reprinted as we speak for Final Fantasy. And this is probably inventory that should not exist. Like the whole thing with like what I like about Pokemon is they typically are a company that prints and then like, okay, we'll get on to our next set, and then they adjust print runs as they go. Magic is not that way. If they see a opportunity to make a buck, they make a buck. So a few of the reprints I think that were like the last Kamigawa reprint for set boosters that crashed the price. I'm like, why? It was rotated out of standard. Do you really need that? Do you really need another Kamigawa set booster at this point? You got to let some be winners at some point. You got to let a set be, you know, less accessible because it was hot. I mean, there was multiple waves of Kamigawa set boosters. They really need that last wave of it after it rotated. And I think this is just gonna, like, and Pokemon has definitely changed its tune too. They haven't really reprinted booster boxes as much, but the booster bundles have just been absolutely churning for Prismatic Evolutions and Surging Sparks and Twilight Masquerade. And right now it hasn't put a dent, and that's mainly due to the fact that speculation is just still massive. So whenever these things get reprinted, they just get gobbled back up by people that are like, okay, I'm gonna make sure to hold on to this when we have this next bull market so I can make my 4x, 5x of my money. And so all of that is being gobbled up, and it's not a good representative of the actual demand of these products. In fact, I would say that Pokemon is actually overprinted right now. I know this is a weird stance to take where we're having booster boxes that are still $200 a booster box, so they're above MSRP, but it's overprinted in the scope of where I think demand is literally at compared to where speculative demand is overcompensating. So that is where the big question with now Destin's Rivals and Final Fantasy and all these stores popping up is, I don't even want to imagine the glut of product that is in existence right now for Magic the Gathering and Pokemon that is now going to cause kind of the Lord of the Rings era, the new Capenna, the Commander Masters era, of so much product that is there on store at the store level and the distribution level that again is not representative of the demand. And eventually when these stores start to fail, because they're going to start to fail, like these operations that are these TCG player only and eBay only operations, they're not sustainable. Like these people that keep competing at the bottom and making their $2 a booster box to try to, especially these stores too, that think, okay, you know, they watch these other stores of how they built up their numbers, was, okay, I need to take all this product that isn't selling so I can actually build up my rapport with distributors. Well, I mean, it's only gonna last if they can get a bunch of hits in a row here in the future. And like, if I'm a betting man, I am a betting man. Like I am not bullish on Edge of Eternities and some of these sets going forward. In fact, I could see Spider-Man absolutely failing. And the main point is what we saw with Lord of the Rings, is Lord of the Rings was absolutely hot until it wasn't. Until that third or fourth printing happened, until the One Ring was kind of found, and people got kind of sick of it. And we actually did have a time period where Lord of the Rings prices collapsed. Now we can always go in hindsight and look back and say, well, Lord of the Rings good again, and it would have been a fine investment, especially collector boosters and stuff. But when everyone was in that era of another wave of holiday collector boosters, another wave of the bundles that had the One Ring in them, another wave of the commander decks, another wave of the set and the draft boosters, it caused a collapse of not only Lord of the Rings, but the entire market, to where no one had any money left for March of Machines and New Capenna and all the Phyrexians and all those IPs that are, or all those sets that were out at the same time. And that's my big worrisome right now of this era, is I think we're headed back into it. So going back to Patreon, that's kind of my worry now too, is like I had to cut everybody for Final Fantasy because we have such a hot market. And now I'm probably going to be begging people to be buying pre-orders for like not Edge of Eternities, probably the sets after that is where I'm foreseeing that we're going to have kind of this issue with, you know, now having ample amount of supply, but not enough demand to actually order with distributors. So again, it's kind of a weird era that we are in with especially stores. So my whole thing about this video is I hope that the people that are, we have this anti-local game store sentiment right now because of all this scalping going on with Final Fantasy. And I want people to at least use a little bit of empathy of the situation that stores are in right now. And especially when stores do price, like we do the same. Like right now I just got in some Blooming Waters from 151. And I priced it a little bit higher than TCG player prices right now. And it's just crazy prices. I think they're going for like 130, 140 for Blooming Waters. And you know, people will come in and they'll see this and be like, why in the world is this? I can't remember what the original MSRP for Blooming Waters was, but it wasn't very high. I think it was like, what, $70 or something? And so people are seeing it going for 2x and they get so upset. And first of all, I paid more per box for Blooming Waters. I didn't get it at that original distribution price. But second of all, if I were to put everything up at my store for MSRP, and the thing is, I do hold back product for loyal customers. I got a one-piece guy that buys from me every one-piece set. And I always hold him back stuff at MSRP for him. Regardless of the price of what's going on for TC Player, he gets it at MSRP. But if some rando comes in, I'm gonna sell one piece at market price. I'm not gonna to set it at MSRP because this person doesn't have any loyalty to our store. They're in here just to buy at the cheapest price. And if I were to put things at MSRP, that particular person would gobble up every box. And say that we'd be out of Pokemon. We'd be out of Final Fantasy. If people would put it at MSRP, there would be no product whatsoever for people that really did want that. So sometimes as an LGS, you just have to let the market solve. You have to let the prices go where the prices go and make those decisions. And of course, a lot of game stores too. This has been the first set in a long time that they've even been able to make a buck on things. So, and if they're anything like me, they're so stretched thin too that they didn't have enough to go around to begin with. So even though they were going to make insane margins on some of this stuff, well, when you only got 35% of your allocation, that's not a lot of wiggle room to even make any money. So this is what kind of sucks about this industry, is when it's cold, you can't make any money, and you get all this bloat, and you get all this like Amazon dumps you're competing with, and all these upset customers because they paid MSRP for something or pre-ordered something, and then it crashes 2 weeks later. And you get, again, upset customers, people who don't want to buy from you, blah, blah, blah. And then in a hot market, same thing. You get people that accuse you of price gouging or playing favorites or whatever, and it's just a lose-lose situation. So again, I've made a lot of posts on my own personal Patreon about the situation. I hope I've articulated it quite well and have addressed all the problems. But I am like, if someone is upset, it's me. I really want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. And with Final Fantasy, I just felt like there was no possible way. No matter how I allocated, someone was going to get upset. If I was going to be top heavy, people were going to be upset. If I was going to spread it around, people that have been with me forever that didn't get as much as they usually get are going to be upset. And it was just a lose-lose situation. So again, we are looking into it, and that's kind of where I've been. It's a very, very frustrating business to be in, but we are working on solutions and addressing it. And I am really excited to have this idiot move back and hopefully help me out with production. So I guess hopefully you see more of Talmadge. A bunch of you might know him back in the day from other things. We've got some hikers coming up here. Anyway, we'll get back to producing things. Thanks for watching.